As I said, it is the month of May. That is incredible how fast time is flying. Yes, going by so quickly, so quickly. And so here we are. It is May 4th, and this month is all about the art of flourishing. The art of flourishing, to thrive, to grow luxuriantly, abundantly in a world that wants us to be chaotic and fearful and feeling lack and limitation and looking over our shoulder and in this chaotic news loop of doom and doom and doom and doom. And yet it's spring and the birds are chirping, the sun is shining, the plants are growing, because that is the natural order. That is the natural order, right? And so it is natural to flourish and to thrive. And we will talk about this month, how do we flourish in these turbulent times? How do we do that? There's an art to doing that. And so today's talk is called Be Selfish. Be selfish, right? Be selfish. And, we have this negative connotation for the word selfish, that it is, I think the dictionary definition is that you're concerned excessively or exclusively with oneself, right? You're seeking or concentrating only on your own joy, your own pleasure, to the exclusion of other things, right? So that's one definition. But here's what's interesting. The etymology of the word, right? The root meaning of that word, self is one's own person, and ish is of the nature of or the character of, right? So it's really about being about the nature or character of your own person, right? Being about your own self, your own nature, your own nature. And what is our own nature, right? What if being selfish, truly selfish in the capital T sense of the word, right? Truly selfish. What if that was a sacred act? What if it was a holy act to be truly selfish? Right, because in our society, we're taught, and by our parents, we're taught, and rightfully so, right? We're taught to give, right? To give and to help others and be kind to others, and that is exactly what we want to do. If we're not doing that on earth, why are we here, right? If we're not loving each other, if we're not being kind to each other. But there are times where that tips over into overgiving, overloving, and words like codependent, right? Toxic, right? Clingy, right? Martyrdom, being a martyr, right? So there are times when that giving, that loving, that feeling over tips, where we are caring so much about others that we forget about ourselves, where we are so busy nurturing others and taking care of others and giving to others and fighting for others, that we don't tend to ourselves. And I'm talking to myself this morning, even as I talk to you, right? I'm talking to myself. As I reflect back for myself on when the pandemic hit, right? So March 2020. And when that happened, there were different constituencies, I'll call them, that I was supporting, right? I was supporting another center in Phoenix as sort of their COO. I was supporting a list of clients that I was working with in corporate. I was supporting lots of other people. And when the pandemic hit, it felt like I just sat down at my dining room table and just started supporting people, right? I started a prayer group, private prayer group on Facebook. There are like 200 people that were in that group. And I did that for two or 3 years, right? And when I look back over the last 5 years, what I realized is I literally sat down and just got on Zoom and started supporting people, supporting my clients as they were transitioning from corporate to remote work, right? And then all the things that go along with that. And supporting this other center, helping them get from in-person to online, right? And then supporting other people in this prayer community that I had going and doing practitioner classes and spiritual classes and visioning and all these things. And what I realized is during that time, I was not taking proper care of myself. Right? I was not honoring myself. So I'm pouring out, but not honoring myself. Can anybody relate to this? Yes. I feel like there are a lot of people in this room that relate to this, yes? And so here's the thing, culturally we're taught to give and serve in turbulent times. We're taught to I felt like I just suited up and just push through, right? Armor up and get through it, right? And that's how I've lived much of my life. And it's worked really well. It's worked really well, but it's exhausting. I've spent many, and my mom knows this, there have been many trips to the ER where I've either had exhaustion, dehydration, or some other thing that because I just was not paying enough attention, right? And I wasn't taking care of myself. And so I'm on this journey with you this month. I want you to know that. I'm not talking about what I am not also practicing, right? So here's the thing that we forget about when it comes to self-care, when it comes to being selfish. We forget a basic truth. One is that God is all there is, right? I want to start at the basic, right? God is all there is. There's nothing else. There is no force to counter that. In the Declaration of Principles in 1927, almost 100 years ago, Ernest Holmes wrote this. This is our core basic principle. We believe in God, the living Spirit Almighty, one indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. And this one manifests itself in and through all creation, but it's not absorbed by its creation, right? Right? It's not absorbed by its creation. The manifest universe is the body of God. It is the body of God, right? So if God is all there is and God created us out of itself, then we must be unique expressions of the one. Yes? We are unique expressions of the one. Yes? And so that makes us then I have a friend who calls this your earth suit, right? We have these earth suits, right? These human suits, these meat jackets that we have on, right? We have these bodies that are really and truly temples of the divine, temples of the divine presence, right? And so because we know that spirit is individualized as us, right? The Almighty that is individualized as us. We are like a wave, and God is the ocean, we're the wave, right? If God is the light, we are the lamp, right? We are the instrument of the divine, and so we are vessels of the divine. And so once we get to that understanding and that knowing of the divine presence that lives, moves, and has its beingness within us, right? When we know that, then we begin to shift our thinking when we think about, how do I care for the vessel? How do I care for this vessel? Right? The divine so loved me. It gave me this body. It expressed as this body so I could be here. I can be here and feel the ground beneath my feet. I can have experiences, right? So that it can have experiences through me. Right? It chose to express uniquely as each one here. Each one is valuable. No one more valuable than the other. Each one unique, each one valuable, right? And so if we begin to think about, how do I honor this vessel? And am I honoring this vessel? Right? Am I doing the things that the vessel needs? There's certain things, we say in this teaching, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And sometimes we say that in a spiritual bypassy kind of way. Here's what I mean. Sometimes we say that as though we're not having a human experience, right? The second part of the sentence is we're having a human experience, right? Now, we don't have to be bound by that experience, but we're having it. Yes, we have human bodies. And so there's certain things that this vessel needs in order for it to exist in this time and space dimension. It needs enough sleep, right? You got to get enough sleep. It needs enough water. It needs to be watered, right? It needs proper nourishment and food in order to be healthy and operate. Yes? It needs love, right? To really flourish and grow and thrive. It needs touch. Yes? There are things that the body needs. There are things that the self needs because we are having a human experience. Are y'all following me in this? Yes? And so when we begin to honor the vessel, then it becomes a sacred act because we understand within the vessel is the divine, right? Within the vessel is the divine. So I want you to think for a moment about the places, spaces, or relationships in your life where you take great care and honor that vessel, right? It may be your home, maybe you're a homeowner or not, but you really honor like your home and making sure everything is okay in the home. Maybe it's your pets. Like that's where you do a lot of care, making sure they have, whatever it is that you want them to have, right? Maybe it's your business. But I want you to look in your life and where are you really honoring and taking care of something in your life, in your world. And what would happen? No, so here's the question. Are you taking that same level of care with yourself? That same level of honoring with yourself that you are with your house? Making sure your house is repaired, it's painted, it's whatever it is, right? Making sure your dogs have, when I had dogs, they had like the best dog food, right? The cleanest dog food. I work with a pet psychic to understand what they needed, right? They were dogs. I was not confused thinking they were human, but I took great care to make sure that they had certain things, right? And that I cared for them. It was so funny. When I first had my dogs, I lived in Cleveland, Ohio. I had two little Maltese. They were about 7 pounds each, Yogi and Sweet Pea. And so I got these dogs, these little dogs, in Ohio, okay, and I don't know. Some of y'all may only be from California, but so my girl back here, right, and so my guy back here, right. So it snows, it gets cold, it gets very very cold in Cleveland, Ohio, and so I had these two little dogs, and I lived in an apartment. Okay, I lived like on the fourth floor of this apartment building, and in the winter, here's what this looked like, right? So I got my coat on, my boots, my scarf, my whatever, my gloves. And then I got their coats on, right? And then at one point I had boots for them, and then I was like, I cannot do 8 boots in there. That's just too much. And so I take them down in the snow, and I can't put them down for a long time because their feet will freeze, right? Because sometimes it's below zero. Sometimes it's wind chill 5 below, 10 below, 15 below zero, right? So I put them down. I couldn't put them down. So I have to go down with all the stuff on in their coats and then put them down. Hopefully somebody would, relieve themselves. I pick them up and then put the other one down, then pick it up, then put the other one down and pick it up. And that's what I did multiple times a day during the winter for years. And my neighbors would go, wow, you take really good care of your dogs. And I'm like, what would I mean, like, this is, they have to go to the bathroom. What would I do? And they're like, oh, you could just put like pads out for them to poop and do everything in your apartment. I'm like, what? No, this is what you do, right? This is just what you do to take care of them, right? So making sure they're fed, they're walked, they're all those things during very harsh times. So I'm sharing that story in detail because what I'm knowing is I didn't take care of myself in that same way, right? I didn't take care of myself in that same way. And so as I was preparing for this talk, I was thinking back through what are the things I've really taken care of well in my life, and am I bestowing that same care on myself, right? Myself that is the vessel of the divine, that is the house that the divine chose to show up in right now. And so I invite you into that exploration for yourself, right? To really look at how do you honor this vessel. Corinthians 3:16 says, do you not know that you are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in you? Do you not know that you are God's temple? God's Spirit dwells in you. So let's take care of the temple and stop neglecting physically, mentally, emotionally, however it's happening, right? You can be perfectly coiffed, but maybe what's happening is you're not being fed emotionally. You're not taking care of your emotional state or your mental health, right? Your mental health could be crisp and clear, but maybe you're not taking care of your physical health or your physical body or your physical needs, right? So I want you to really be looking at for yourself, how can you really, really begin to honor the indwelling spirit by practicing really good self-care, whatever that looks like. And this is beyond the bubble bath, although that's good too, all right? So, the other thing is really reframing the word selfish, as I started off in the beginning, right? And really thinking about if I'm nurturing my God self. So there's that physical self-care, but what about your spiritual self-care? And this is where your spiritual practices come in. So frequently I hear people say, well, I don't have time to meditate. I don't have time to do this. I don't have to. And it's like, how can you, Michael Beckwith used to say, how do you have time not to do it? Like, how is that possible? Right? Or when I went through prac training and was like, well, I don't want to meditate. I don't want to, I'm sort of burnt out. I don't want to do. And he's like, so what? So what? What does that even mean? Right? And so I invite you into that energy of, so what? We are in difficult times. We're in turbulent times. We're in times where, with the help of social media and other things, it is so easy to get ensnared in the world. It is so easy to get caught up in this news flash and this news flash and this news flash, and then fighting with people on Facebook and fighting with people other places. Right? It's so easy to get tipped over into the world. And so now is the time to really practice spiritual self-care. How can you be in more and deeper and richer relationship with the divine presence within you? How can you be in more touch with that which indwells you? Right? How can you cultivate that relationship? I talk about this all the time, how we are cultivating a relationship with the divine because it knows us intimately. It created us out of itself. It knows us intimately. It knows every possibility of what could possibly happen in our lives. It knows how to solve every so-called problem that is facing us because it's the problem showing up to get our attention. Right? It knows everything. And so how do we begin to cultivate a relationship with that versus, Facebook, which knows nothing? It knows very little. And then it regurgitates the same thing over and over. Or people who know very little, and they just regurgitate the same thing over and over. Or the news, which knows very little, but it just says the same thing over and over to get your nervous system wired up, to get you freaked out, to get you anxious. So spending less time with that and more time with the divine presence that knows everything, has every answer. It is the answer. It is the thing itself. Right? It is the thing itself, and it created us so it knows exactly how to solve our problems. This is the thing I love about God. It knows exactly how to solve whatever is in front of us if we would just get out of the way. It knows exactly how to solve it. Right? And so frequently, we're in the way. We're like, oh, let me call this person and find out. Let me go over here and find out. Let me go on Chat GPT and see. Let me go. And it's like, God knows all of it because it created all of it. If you just get in relationship with God, you'll have the answers. You'll have what you need. Right? But so frequently, we go to all these other places running ourselves ragged, and that is not great self-care. It also takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time. One of the beautiful things about birthing this center has been beholding God's hand at work and seeing how things have happened so fast. It is insane, right? And my board knows because they're a little closer to me, and other people in the room know because they're closer to what's happening, right? Jenna has been in the ride since the very beginning. This was not planned. This was not planned. I did not plan this. All of a sudden, it's like, Jen, we're out. We got to go. We got to birth something. Yeah. This was not a planned thing. I didn't have this in my mind to do this. I didn't have a plan to do this. This has happened quickly because I'm aligned with the divine, and Spirit said it's time to move. Here's what you're doing. Here's what you're doing. And so everything is starting to come together, has been coming together to make that happen. Yes? So when you go to the divine, when you honor that sacredness that is within your own being, when you listen to that more than you listen to the world, things move very, very fast. And it cannot be shaken by the things of the world, right? You are not in competition with anyone else because you're living out your own divine walk, your own divine design. And it will naturally bring together everything that is needed because the entire cosmos works together for your good when you're aligned with the divine. Are y'all hearing me? Yes. Okay, good, yes. So here's not the last thing, but one thing I want to say about when you are really in relationship with the divine and you feel and sense that presence within you, and you know the sacredness of your own nature. When you are in that space, you begin to see the sacredness of other people. Right? You begin to see the divine in others no matter what craziness they're doing, no matter what is happening, no matter what they're saying or how they're behaving. Doesn't mean you excuse the behavior, doesn't mean you agree with what they're saying, but you can see the presence of God, right? You can call forth the presence of God, because here's the thing. If you can't see the sacred in yourself, you cannot see it in others. So all the do-gooding in the world, all the Facebook posts in the world, all the, I'm going to go out and march with the sun, none of that matters if you can't see the sacred in yourself. Because you're operating from a place of separation, trying to solve separation, which you cannot solve from the same level of the problem. Are y'all with me? Yeah. So you have to cultivate that knowing of the divine presence, the sacredness of your center. And when you see that, you will begin to see it everywhere. You'll begin to see it in your beloved and those who are close to you. You'll see it in those you don't agree with, right? And even those that you have, you love them, and how I say, I can love you, love you, love you, and want you the furthest and highest good away from me, right? Because those things, that is a thing, right? That is a thing, right? So you can loving someone doesn't mean you deal with toxicity. Knowing the truth about someone doesn't mean you deal with toxicity, right? You just know the truth and stand and know the truth, and then self-care means, oh, okay, I need you far away from me, right? I love you and I see the divine in you, and you need to be over there, and we're good, right? Y'all get me? Yeah. So this is what happens when we begin to practice self-care, right? Because I feel like in this room right now, there are some of you who know that there is a person, a relationship, a job, or some energy that you need to invite out of your life, right? That has no place in your world, has no place in your life. It is not feeding you. You are not thriving. It is not honoring the sacred within you, right? And so I want to invite you now just to take a deep breath and let it go. Let it go. Let it go. And just feel the presence at the core of your own center, that presence, that voice that says, yes. That presence and voice that says, you are my beloved. That presence and voice that says, you are worthy because I made you. I made you. I made you. And I love you. And just feel in to that place where the divine dwells within your very own being. Feel it and sense it. And when you feel that sacred presence within yourself, go ahead and open your eyes. Does everybody feel that? Yeah. Yeah. So here are the moves that I want you to make this week. And I call them moves because I'm a coach, right? And that's what we call it in executive coaching, right? It's what's the move we're going to make? And so here's some moves this week I want you to really cultivate and put into practice so that you can keep coming back to knowing and sensing and feeling that divine presence. And so one move is to really just schedule some time this week that is just for you. Not for your children or grandchildren, not for other people, not for your beloved, not for your job or your boss, right? Not for your pets. That is just for you. Right? So this is what you're going to do. Find and schedule some time where you can just be by yourself, be quiet, or take yourself on a date. Right? Enjoy something that you enjoy. Do something you enjoy, but just some time that's just for you. How precious is that? Because so many of us are caretakers in one way or the other, right? So many of us are, very responsible employees, right? Some of us have businesses. And so there's so many things that pull at our attention, but just carve out, if you can, 30 minutes this week, right? An hour this week where you can just do something with just yourself, for yourself. Okay? That's one move. Y'all with me? Okay. Here's your second move, beloveds. You got to say no. You got to say no. And that's a complete sentence. Not no, I can't because of the, no, I can't because, no, the reason, no. No, practice saying no. Right now, I feel that there are some things and places and spaces and people and situations, even if it's within your own mind, that you have got to say no to. Maybe it's that thought, those negative thoughts that keep wiring through, right? Maybe it's fearful thoughts. Maybe it's fearful thoughts that now have shown up as people saying these things to you, because that's what happens, right? And so it's time to say no to something. No to someone. No to that which does not really, really, really feed you and really allow you to be in a place and space of self-care and honoring the vessel. Okay, so you find some place to say no. Okay? All right, here's your third move. Y'all ready? Okay, every morning I want you to place your hand on your heart. Let's do it now. And when you wake up, I just want you to say that I am a vessel for the divine. And I honor this vessel today. Yes. So feel that. Feel that. Right? When you wake up in the morning, before you get out of bed, just reconnect with that I am a vessel for the divine and I honor this vessel today. And let that be your guiding principle, your guiding force. Because here's what's true. We are not here to grind ourselves into the dust. We are not here to be martyrs to our job, our parents, our children, the world. We're not here for that. Right? We are not here to be broken down, to be, heavy laden and burdened by the world. We are not here for that. We're not made for that. We are made to flourish. We're made to rise. We are made to shine, just like the flowers that are blossoming right now. Right? The flowers that are coming up right now and blossoming, the trees and the birds and the chirping in the spring. We're made to thrive, no matter what's going on. No matter what's going on. Maybe winter has come out in the world, but it's spring in here. It's spring in here, right? So that's what we're here for. Can we agree to that? All right. So let's turn within, shall we?